Look at these scenes. You might think this is a chaotic, unstable, and insecure country. But no, this is America, right now. There are streets that no one dares to drive through, even in broad daylight. The once peaceful and bustling residential areas are now covered in tents, trash, and even rats running everywhere as if they were dancing. And the vacant stares of those who have nowhere to return to. Why are there places like that in America, a country always considered the richest in the world? Billions of dollars are poured into support programs, but the number of homeless people keeps increasing, becoming more alarming. There are even places where the police don't dare to step in. The law seems to have disappeared, and the people started to leave. In this video, we will delve into 10 states likened to a homeless hell, where everything from justice, safety to hope has perhaps long since vanished. The content of this video is compiled from reputable sources and social observation perspectives. The goal is not to attack any organization, but to evoke a multi-dimensional picture, where you, as the viewer, will have the right to reflect and form your own opinion. And if you think you're not involved, wait until the end. Because the truth is, if they can lose everything, you can too. California, the place of sunshine, blue seas, and the American dream. But now, amidst the luxurious lights and modern billboards, there are streets cluttered with tents, where thousands of Americans, including the elderly, veterans, and even children, are living in instability and neglect. California currently has over 170,000 homeless people, accounting for nearly 1/3 of the total nationwide. Los Angeles alone has recorded over 46,000 people without stable housing. In Skid Row, a stretch of street just a few blocks long, over 2,000 people camp closely together without electricity, water, or restrooms. In the Tenderloin district of San Francisco, the police don't even set foot there due to its instability. This is no longer a temporary phenomenon. It has become an unusual ecosystem right in the heart of the city. So what has caused this situation to become so dire, right in one of the richest states in America? California has a high average income, but the cost of living is incredibly high. The average rent in Los Angeles is $2,500 per month, nearly double the national average. Meanwhile, thousands of retirees, low-wage workers, or those who lost their jobs due to illness can no longer afford to keep their homes. Moreover, many housing and social welfare support policies have been cut or delayed. The law restricts the eviction of homeless people from public spaces, forcing cities to choose between being humane or facing disorder. And these are not just statistics. They are the real lives of people who once had hopes like many other Americans. A man who used to be a construction worker in San Fernando Valley shared, "Clearly, I did nothing wrong. I just can't keep up with this society anymore. Everything is too expensive, and I don't have much money in my pocket." What this man shared? It sounds absurd, but that's the reality that tens of thousands of Americans live with every day. When American citizens, who once paid taxes and worked hard, have to live under the shade of trees by the roadside, we can't help but wonder, is the system letting too many people fall through the cracks? California used to be a model for the entire country. Now, it is the earliest warning for other states. If the richest, most progressive state in America can collapse due to homelessness, what do you think awaits other places? Once dubbed the Emerald City of the Pacific Northwest, Portland, the capital of Oregon, now sends shivers down the spine of the entire nation at the mere mention of its name. Under the lush green canopies, beside the picturesque Willamette River, you would never guess that just by turning onto a few streets, you would step into the area not meant for the sober. By the end of 2024, more than 18,000 people in Oregon will be without stable housing, and nearly half of them will be concentrated in Portland. The parks that used to be family outing spots are now covered with tents. Some districts have to warn residents not to walk alone after sunset. According to city statistics, 911 calls related to homelessness have doubled in the past 2 years, including violence, psychological disturbances, and public disorder. However, the medical and police forces are increasingly withdrawing. What has caused Portland, once a progressive city rich in humanitarian values in the state of Oregon, to fall into such chaos? In an effort to help, Portland has relaxed anti-camping laws, not clearing or penalizing, with humanitarian intentions. But this inadvertently led to homeless camps springing up uncontrollably, with many neighborhoods turning into no-go zones. The government still spends millions of dollars each year on housing and treatment programs, but lacks manpower, oversight, and the construction costs are too high. Meanwhile, housing prices have increased by 30% after the pandemic, causing poor people to lose their homes permanently with just one setback, such as a medical bill or an unexpected layoff. Every night I hug my child to sleep, afraid someone will knock on the car door. During the day, I wake up early to shower at the gas station, trying to keep my children looking normal so they can go to school. That is the sharing of a single mother who used to work as a library assistant. After she was laid off due to Doge's budget cuts, she lived on welfare. When the lease expired, the landlord raised the rent, and so the three of them had to sleep in the old Toyota. Interestingly, this is no longer an isolated incident. It is becoming increasingly common in some of the once most peaceful places in America. Portland may still pride itself on being a progressive, tolerant city, but tolerance cannot replace the system, and the system here is at risk of collapsing piece by piece. People are starting to wonder, could I be the next one to set up a tent on the sidewalk? Zarenia, will my children and grandchildren have a more stable future? The reality in many unstable places has proven that if a society's kindness is not accompanied by good management, it can turn into chaos that no one can control. And perhaps it's time for Oregon to change. Can Portland recover? Or is what we are seeing just the beginning of an era, where the city is no longer a place to return to? And Portland is not the only place. Perhaps it is just one of the first states to be affected by the crisis simmering across America. Seattle, the birthplace of Amazon, Microsoft, Starbucks. A city regarded as the center of innovation, of the educated middle class. But now, the people here don't talk much about technology. They talk about the fear of stepping out of their homes every morning. Washington currently has over 25,000 homeless people. In Seattle, bus stations, transit hubs, and even hospital entrances have become beds for hundreds of people each night. The damp sleeping bags, dusty backpacks, and restless sleep in the cold night. These are the images that make many city dwellers choke up or sometimes just turn away. It's no longer the question of who is homeless, but rather who will be the next to join them. Many of the homeless people in this state are veterans, those who once contributed to making America what it is today. They return carrying unforgettable memories and the difficulties of reintegrating into the community, along with a lack of long-term medical support. Even though there are housing support policies, many people are out of contact, lack sufficient documentation, or do not know how to access the program. Additionally, rental prices in Seattle have increased by more than 40% in the past 5 years. A retired veteran on a basic pension can hardly afford the rent for an apartment when the average price exceeds $2,000 per month. They are pushed to the margins of society in silence. And these are not just numbers. They are real stories of people who were once symbols of courage. A veteran shared. After retiring from the military, he tried to work as a driver, but chronic back pain caused him to lose his job. He said, "I never thought I would be living in a bus station with 2 old coats and a box of charity food. I used to think I was invincible, but the only thing I have left is the memory and the silence of society. A soldier should not end their life like that." But in Washington, that is happening every day. We honor flags, memorials, parades, but let veterans sleep in the rain. That paradox makes many people wonder, do the slogans, "Support our troops," still hold any meaning when they can't find a safe place to sleep after returning? It sounds unbelievable, but that is the reality in one of the most developed states in America. Seattle has technology, has money, there are resources, but it seems to lack the ability to protect the very people who built it. And if a city like Seattle can also fall into despair, what do you think awaits less fortunate places? In Phoenix, Arizona, sunlight was once considered a gift of the desert. Sometimes you can fry an egg right on the pavement, but for thousands of people without homes, that sunlight becomes their daily fear. In Arizona, especially in Phoenix, where summers last more than 100 days with temperatures frequently exceeding 110 degrees Fahrenheit, outdoor life is nearly unbearable. When there is no shelter, no air conditioning, no place to rest, a shade becomes a luxury for the homeless in this city. People set up makeshift tents by the roadside, seeking shelter behind gas stations or parking lots. And have you ever tried to ask or find out what has caused them to end up in this situation? Isn't this not just a matter of climate, but also a consequence of long-term policies? Arizona is one of the fastest growing states in the United States. But along with the skyscrapers and the wave of newcomers, housing prices are rising every day. In the past 10 years, the average rent in Phoenix has nearly doubled, while workers' incomes have stagnated. Affordable housing support programs have been cut, while many temporary shelters have been dismantled without alternative solutions. People are being pushed out onto the streets, amidst the scorching heat of the desert that challenges humanity, both literally and figuratively. And now, amidst that heat, there are people who once had a home, a family, until everything disappeared. A woman nearly 50 years old, who used to work at a nail salon. After the pandemic, the nail salon closed, she lost her job, and gradually lost her home as well. Without money for rent, she and her 13-year-old son had to live temporarily in their car. On the hottest days, the mother and child have to try to find shaded places to park, but sometimes they run out of gas without finding such a place. Although they never gave up, they also didn't dare to think much about the future. But that's no longer just the story of her and her child. That is the reality happening right in the heart of America. Phoenix has deployed cooling stations, shelters, and mobile response teams. But in reality, the demand is too great, and many people cannot access them due to lack of information, transportation, or fear of discrimination. Sometimes, clearing out the camps is just moving the problem from one place to another, without addressing the root cause. Phoenix used to be the ideal city for retirement. Now it has become a test of people's endurance. Will Arizona continue to expand its million-dollar neighborhoods while forgetting about those sleeping on the sidewalks? Or at this point, do we need a reflection to decide what kind of society we want to become? In downtown Austin, you can hear the soothing sound of guitars emanating from trendy bars. But just a few blocks away, other sounds are rising. The sighs, the rustling of tarps, and the footsteps of those with nowhere to go. Austin was once hailed as the most creative city in America, a paradise for young people, artists, and tech engineers. But in 2025, this city also ranked among the top urban areas with the fastest growing homeless population. According to the Echo report, the number of people without shelter in Austin has exceeded 5,000, with many having to set up temporary tents right outside newly built tech facilities or living in cars in supermarket parking lots. Temporary tents have sprung up under the bridge, around Lady Bird Lake, next to the bus stops. And sometimes, people can no longer distinguish between the vibrant city and the helpless city. Austin is not lacking in money. So what has turned a once-dreamed destination into a place where many American dreams are slowly fading away? You see, Austin is developing too quickly. The tech boom, with investors pouring into real estate, has led to skyrocketing home prices and living costs. In less than a decade, the average rent here has increased by more than 80%, pushing a large number of working-class residents out of the central area. Along with that, the law banning camping in public places, which had been repealed to allow homeless people to survive, was reintroduced after some residents' backlash, forcing many to constantly relocate and live in precarious and unsafe conditions. Those numbers are not just data. They are the real lives of the people who once contributed to building this city. A man who used to be a sound technician for music events in Austin shared, "I used to mix sound for hundreds of shows. Now I hear the sound of patrol boots every night, wondering if they will chase me away." Austin is racing ahead like an express train, but is there anyone left at the station? When urban development is only for those with wealth and opportunity, honest workers easily become the forgotten ones. It is ironic that a city once proud of its spirit of welcoming everyone seems to be lacking in compassion for those who need help the most. Rapid development has brought this state taller buildings and larger stages, but sometimes what is still missing is a small roof and a simple greeting. Austin is still the city of dreamers, of music and compassion. But if we don't take action soon, those shimmering lights will only reflect the dark spots we dare not face. From the top of the Rocky Mountains, you can see the entire Denver, modern, bustling, and vibrant. But if you step down Colfax Avenue in the late afternoon, you'll see a different scene. Shopping carts filled with old belongings, tents crowded on the sidewalks, and the vacant stares of those who once had stable lives. Denver has witnessed one of the highest increases in homelessness in the western region in 2024 to 2025. The number of people without stable housing in 2024 to 2025, this city has exceeded 9,000, with thousands living in unsafe conditions, lacking clean water, medical stations, and being crammed into temporary camps. The authorities continuously clear the tent areas, but just a few days later, those areas are filled up again. Moving out only to move back in has become an endless cycle for those who have nowhere else to go. Are you wondering what has pushed Denver, one of the most beloved cities in the United States, into this situation? Denver used to be a symbol of the balance between urban and nature lifestyle. But in recent years, the average rent in this city has increased by more than 70%, while the minimum wage and housing assistance have not kept pace. The shortage of affordable housing, combined with the lack of psychological and public health services, has turned those who once had stable jobs, drivers, security guards, warehouse workers, into people who have to sleep under bridges. Many assistance programs have been cut, causing the welfare system to become overloaded and unable to reach those who need help the most. Many people want to help but don't know how to do so. Meanwhile, the authorities seem to focus mostly on urban image cleanup campaigns, rather than addressing the root issue, the people. In a modern city with skyscrapers sometimes, a piece of cardboard and an old coat are all someone has left to survive. Denver lacks neither money nor kindness, but it lacks a strong enough system to keep people from falling down once they slip and stumble. And if that can happen in a wealthy, civilized city, then how many more places are facing a similar future? Las Vegas, where the lights never go out, where every dream seems to come true. However, just a few streets away from the glamorous casinos, hundreds of people may be living underground in the sewer system, without electricity, clean water, or an escape. Las Vegas has more than 6,500 people without stable housing, and this number is believed to be much higher if we include those living temporarily in cars or in areas not yet counted. Many of them used to work as servers, drivers, or even managers at resorts, jobs that once ensured a stable income. But when the tourism industry declined, rental prices skyrocketed, and support policies lagged behind, they were forced to choose unexpected places to take shelter: underground. Las Vegas relies on the tourism and casino industry, which is extremely vulnerable to economic crises. The COVID pandemic and its aftermath caused a large number of hotel, restaurant, and service employees to lose their jobs for an extended period. Meanwhile, rental prices in Las Vegas have increased by more than 60% in just 5 years, according to Zillow. Without strong social housing, without policies to maintain stable temporary housing, many people have quickly fallen into hardship after just a few months of unemployment or illness. Las Vegas is dubbed the city that never sleeps. But behind those lights is a second life, where citizens left behind by the system are struggling to survive day by day. There is something absurd about a city that rakes in billions from tourism and gambling each year. yet has thousands of people without even a roof to sleep under. And if a city that never sleeps still lets many people sleep under the night sky like that, then perhaps it's time for America to wake up before it's too late. New York, the symbol of modern America, the center of finance, culture, fashion, art. People come here to start their dreams, but there are also thousands of people quietly losing everything in the very place called the City of Opportunity. According to a report from the Coalition for the Homeless, New York currently has over 90,000 people without stable housing, the highest in the nation. In the heart of the bustling city, there are those who choose the subway as their place to sleep at night. Some sleep on benches, someone curled up under the stairs. The person clutches the small backpack tightly, as if it were the only treasure left in their life. And the thought-provoking thing is, people have become so accustomed to that scene that they no longer stop. New York is famously known for having one of the highest living costs in the United States. The average rent for a small apartment exceeds $3,000 per month, while the average pension for many elderly people is only around $1,600 to $2,000. When you just saw a dinner costing $1,000, right around the corner is an old man asking for a leftover piece of bread. That's not a movie scene. That's the reality every day in Manhattan. In New York, the wealth gap is as stark as the border between two worlds. On one side are luxury restaurants and penthouse apartments. On the other side is a bus station where a 65-year-old former teacher wraps himself in a worn-out blanket because he can't afford a sweater. Although New York has hundreds of charitable organizations, shelters, free kitchens, and housing subsidy policies. But the system is complex. The wait times are long, and many people cannot access it due to lack of documentation, technological knowledge, or mental health. There are even people who choose to sleep outdoors because they do not want to live in the crowded, privacy-lacking conditions of temporary shelters. The American dream begins in New York. But today, right there, the dream has become a luxury for those who were once part of society. Is it possible that New York has focused too much on skyscrapers and forgotten about the people living right beneath them? And if a city like New York allows its people to fall into this situation, then where else is safe? Chicago used to be a symbol of hard-working America, a place where workers could buy homes, raise children, and live stable lives. But today, the very people who built that city are now having to sleep outside amidst the sound of car horns and the cold winds of early winter. Illinois, especially the city of Chicago, is witnessing an unbelievable situation. Nearly 68,000 homeless people, according to the 2024 statistics from the Chicago Coalition for the Homeless. But what's even more concerning is that nearly 1/4 of them had stable housing within the past 12 months, meaning many people fall into homelessness very quickly, unexpectedly, and without any way out. Especially among them, there are increasingly more middle-aged and elderly women who were once nurses, secretaries, and administrative staff who lost their jobs or overspent during the pandemic and have never recovered. Chicago used to be an industrial hub where the middle class thrived and prospered. But for more than a decade, this city has struggled with public debt, unemployment, and budget instability. Many affordable housing programs have been cut, while rental prices continue to rise steadily. Additionally, the increase in crime, along with the shortage of healthcare and social workers, has caused many areas to become overwhelmed, making it difficult for the homeless to access timely support services. Once the pride of American workers, where a craftsman could support an entire family with their own hands. But now, even those hands are no longer strong enough to hold onto a roof over their heads. Chicago is not lacking in kindness, but what the city is lacking is a system flexible and humane enough to ensure that a full-time worker won't have to sleep in their car. A child going to school should not have to hide the fact that they have no home to return to. Do you realize right near the Liberty Bell, a symbol of freedom, is an ironic reality? Dozens of elderly people sit by tents, quietly sipping charity coffee. They used to be neighbors, teachers, veterans. Now, they are left with only names and oblivion. Philadelphia is currently the city with the highest number of homeless people in the East Coast region. About 5,400 people are without stable housing. But what's even more notable, nearly 30% of them are aged 55 and older, a rate that is increasing faster than any other age group, according to 2024 data from Project Home. Philadelphia is facing a double crisis: a severe shortage of affordable housing, while healthcare and living costs are rising faster than pensions and social security. With an average retiree receiving less than $1,600 a month, they can barely afford to rent a safe room in the city center. The Philadelphia government has implemented many support programs, from shelters to mental health counseling centers, but Kensington has exceeded their capacity to respond. The centers are always overcrowded, wait times are long, and many people are so exhausted that they don't want to wait anymore. Philadelphia was once known as the city of brotherly love. But what brotherhood is there when thousands of elderly people have no beds to sleep in? We praise justice, honor tradition. But have we perhaps forgotten those who once shouldered an entire generation? Not all of them made mistakes. Many people just need a setback at work, in life, or an unexpected bill, a delayed pension, to slip off the tracks of life. And if a street that was once the pride of the people of Pennsylvania is now forgotten to the point where even the residents there have forgotten how to dream, then this is no longer just the story of Kensington, but a warning for all other places that are still peaceful. After traversing the haunting landscape of 10 states facing a widespread homelessness crisis, we cannot help but ponder a rapidly changing America in an unpredictable direction. The numbers, stories, and images are not just mere statistics. They are shattered dreams, lives striving to find their footing and safety amidst the turmoil. Will America still retain the warm heart and unity that once created the spirit of the land of the free for our generation? Will those values be strong enough to help the elderly, the veterans, those who have dedicated their entire lives to the country, but are now on the brink of being forgotten? We greatly appreciate your thoughts. Please share your feelings and stories in the comments section below. If this video helps you understand another side of America, don't hesitate to share it so more people can see and understand. And if you want to join us on our next deep exploration journeys, hit follow so you don't miss out. The content of this video is based on real data and stories compiled from various public sources, aiming to raise awareness and evoke empathy. All feedback and sharing from our audience are appreciated and will contribute to improving future content.